Drake has officially announced that his new studio album, For All the Dogs, will be dropping on September 22nd via his IG. And if you guys want to come listen to this album with us for the first ever time, we will be doing our live album reaction to For All the Dogs on our Patreon plan. So if you guys want access to Patreon, visit the pinned comment. But Lou, what do you make out of this announcement?
Drizzy's about to drop. The game is in disarray. I couldn't be more hyped, to tell you the truth. I mean, with every Drake album, it feels like an event, and I feel like he's one of those few artists where, hate him or love him, anytime that he puts out a new body of work, like a Beyonce, like a Travis Scott, the whole music world is going to get behind it and be excited and give it their ear. And when it comes to this album, it's interesting because he teased it back a couple of months ago. He said that it was going to be a companion piece to the book that he put out, which was a poetry book. And since then, we haven't gotten too many details, but he just posted on his IG a video of his father, Dennis Graham, actually performing with like this blues band somewhere in Canada, which was obviously done decades ago. But it was just so cool to see him giving us a piece of his history, you know, where his musical beginnings really took form. And I'm sure that his dad was a big inspiration. So you think he samples Dennis on the album? What are you saying?
Let's see. I think that would be an awesome moment. But what this rollout is kind of vindicating to me, you know, even looking at, let's say, the album cover that was done by Adonis and now the promo trailer for the album, quote unquote, going through Dennis. This is like a family-oriented album,
Yes,
man,
sir.
at this point, and I really like the approach with it. And we do know that there was like this Lil Yachty interview that was speaking more or less about the album, and Lil Yachty went into detail about how there are certain verses on this said album that are some of the best he's ever heard, sort of like the Journal Drake that we all seem to love. And Drake himself had said that he's going back to the old Drake. So looking at the date now, you know, what do you expect out of this? Now that we're officially in rollout season, do you think that there's going to be more to come? Like, let's say, alternative covers, let's say the merchandise attached to it. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, first of all, I just love the fact that we actually have some time to sit with the date, because for the more recent rollouts, it feels like they've been more or less surprise drops. We've only had a couple of days to really wrap our heads around the release date and anticipating the album. So now with like a good 2 weeks or so to anticipate the album, I think we're definitely going to get a big rollout. I think he's going to do not necessarily the billboards again, but a cool way of announcing the features. You might get your alternate covers, maybe a trailer for the album, the way he did for CLB, which I absolutely loved. So that's super exciting. And to go back on what Yachty was saying, it's pretty interesting because he also said that it's going to be Drake's most energetic album, and he said it's going to be very controversial as well. So let me ask you this, like, topically speaking, what do you think we're going to get from Drake? You think it might be his most personal body of work, or do you think you're going to get certain bars like, I'm at the Missoni room at the Biblos, like that luxury, esoteric Drake that like you really have to know?
I understand where you're coming from. I think that you might get a mix of both, because the thing with Drake is that when you look at the track list and the track list that he's delivered in the past, the writing, the production, everything is very unique in approach in the way that he actually goes by the track list. So I think you're going to be getting some luxury bars, but I also think you're going to get some mogul talk, to be quite honest with you, because I feel like there's a big sentiment in the game right now that the game's dying, bro. People are saying that rap music is on a decline. People are saying that the new artists that are coming through and breaking through aren't all that good or exciting. So I think maybe you'll see Drake talk about a bit of that, if I had to put my guess out there, you know? But looking at just where he's at in his career, it's very interesting because I feel like he has that Godfather role right now. You know, he's at the top of his game still, going into, you know, the latter half of his career, looking at what he's already delivered. I feel like that would be a super cool approach for this new studio album.
And that's what's cool, is that 10 years after saying that he's still going to be on top on Nothing Was the Same, it's, I think, 2 days before the 10-year anniversary of Nothing Was the Same that For All the Dogs is actually dropping. And 10 years later, he's still top dog in the game. Like, there's really no denying that. So it's going to be a really fun release. What do you think we're going to get? Going back to the whole thing of Drake saying we're going to get that old Drake, what do you think we're going to hear in terms of a sound or a version of Drake? And also, which collaborators fall into that mix because of that sound that he might go with?
Well, this is very interesting because obviously you're going to have your classic collaborators like, let's say, a Boy Wonder or a 40, where, you know, they shaped his sound and they took care of iconic projects like a Take Care, or even Nothing Was the Same, like maybe even, let's say, a Vinyls or an Alan
see a
Ridd.
Benny X on here.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Because that's the thing too, is that Benny X has been on tour with Drake, so if that means anything, maybe you'll get a couple of placements from him. That's still unconfirmed, so we'll see.
Well,
But
Search and Rescue was done by Benny X, and there's a lot of rumors that might be like the single for the album, which is an interesting choice because I don't think it's necessarily the strongest song that he's put out in recent time. But yeah, tell me more about just what you think this old Drake is going to be, because we've spoken about this before. We know that old Drake encompasses everything. It encompasses R&B. It encompasses the old Memphis style of rapping inspired by 3 6 and other acts. So what do you think we're getting? Or do we just end up getting more of what we got on CLB and Her Loss, where it's that more modern trap type of Drake? What do you think?
But you even got a Middle of the Ocean on Her Loss. That's
I
the
know.
thing, though. You even got an Hours in Silence, and that's not necessarily geared towards a modern Drake.
Yes, but if you look at like the majority of Her Loss, Middle of the Ocean is an outlier in comparison to like the Back Outside Boys and the Privileged Rappers type
But
of
you
tracks.
also have like the On BS and like say the major distribution.
more trappish type
Yes,
music.
but
though.
that's also a type of Drake that we haven't seen in a long time, and I've actually never
we
seen
saw
before.
it in 2022.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm trying to say on Her Loss. So I think that what's going to happen is that you're going to get a new type of Drake. He reinvents himself with every single album he puts out. That's what's so good about these big artists.
But
is
if
that
it's the old
you're
Drake,
gonna-
I don't see a reinvention happening
but the thing-
necessarily.
but example, like let's say someone like The Weeknd or Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars is taking these old sounds again and putting them into a modern twist. Maybe that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
Taking his old sound and recreating it in 2023 would be a cool project and something to attack.
For sure. But yeah, in terms of collaborators, I feel like he's definitely going to bring in some new faces that he hasn't worked with before. I'm thinking maybe Central C is a possibility since they've done that freestyle together, which went hard. I'm thinking also Yeet. I know they've been close for a while. You never know if that could end up happening. I want to see J. Cole on the album too, because they were on stage together and they were sort of sharing some love back and forth. Drake asking to be on Cole's album. Then they kind of hinted at maybe being on each other's album. So listen, if we get J. Cole and Drizzy going bar for bar in 2023, all of my prayers will be fucking answered. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Maybe a Lil Yachty feature. You never know
yes,
about that. He's
yes.
been on tour with Drake as well. So I think the collaborators are always up for debate. You might get
Rick Ross too, because he just spoke about Rick Ross, saying that Rick Ross is his favorite rapper to rap alongside with.
Yeah, get a part 2 to Lemon Pepper, or
Fuck
even
yeah.
like listening to Gold Roses the other day. Still fantastic chemistry between them two.
But
They've been doing it for years.
What
at
do
this
you
point.
want to hear though, in terms of features and just sound? Like you as a fan, forget about what we're probably
Man,
gonna get.
I just want to hear like top tier Drizzy, man. That's what I come for. I don't really want anything in particular. Let him decide what the collaborators are gonna look like. Let him decide what the track list is gonna look like. It could be short, it could be long. I just don't care. I want to hear top tier Drizzy, and I want to feel like that energy is back in the room again for 2023, because besides Utopia and maybe the Pink Tape, we've had a shortage of big rollouts. I'm being completely honest with
Yeah.
you. It's been a bit silent. And what's nice about Drake now is that we're going into this fourth quarter and we have our first big release going into the latter half of this year. So that's what I want. I just want this big cultural moment to ring off throughout the community. I want bangers. I want to see, let's say, how controversial Drake's going to get and what he's going to put in those raps, and, just be able to geek out and enjoy this album.
I want more of that tea time, bro. I want some more Drizzy meltdown, that troublemaker sort of like sending subs, doing whatever he wants to do to talk his shit. That's the type of Drake that I want. And of course, if you know me and my takes, of course, I'd love to see some more Lemon Pepper type songs, some more Diplomatic Immunity type of lyrical excellence tracks from Drake. I don't think you're going to get an album full of that, but I'd love to see 3 or 4 of those. I'd love to see Drake get super personal, maybe just about his come up again, once again, sharing new stories. I'd also love to see him form an album that probably, I think this album is going to be similar to Views and Scorpion in the sense that he's catering to every pocket of his community, but I'd like to see him do that in a cohesive way where every track sort of bleeds into each other, like a Views, for example, where it still has that cohesive feel. But in terms of a track list, I do see this being like over 15 songs, maybe like 17, 18, 19, around that would be my guess. I do think it will be a longer track list.
But he has been dropping longer albums as of late, and he's kind of been doing that his entire career. Like, I don't see him dropping like a 9-song project. I don't think it makes sense for a Drake.
Mind you, Honestly Nevermind was like 14, and I think Her Loss was 16. I see this being a bit longer than that, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens, guys. So listen, mark the date. September 22nd is the date to look out for, guys. It's going to be a massive night for the entire community. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, the entire NFR community is going to be turning up, guys.
I have to ask you one more thing, though.
Go for it.
Do you think we're going to get a classic album with this new album?
Oh,
we're getting a classic from Drizzy?
I think we're going to get a massive album.
That's what I want to
night.
hear.
So, guys, listen. As I was saying, September 22nd is going to be the date. Mark it in your calendars. Tell your mothers. Tell everyone about it. Drizzy Drake is back, and it's just going to be a super fun time. So, guys, check out the link in the description for our Patreon plan. Much love to everyone, and we'll see you guys there. Peace.